Imagine being so terrible at your job that your kingdom collapses. Your nobles start punching each other in the face, and your country erupts into a full-blown civil war. All while you're too busy staring blankly into the middle distance like someone trying to remember if they left the oven on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the reign of Henry VI, the king who ruled like a damp tea towel flapping in the wind. When Henry V, the rock star king who kicked France's teeth in at Agincourt, died, he left behind a precious legacy, and by precious I mean a literal infant. Yes, Henry VI was technically king while still in nappies. They didn't crown him immediately, because even medieval England had the good sense to avoid anointing a newborn with power. That's how you end up with legislation banning bath time. Running the country while baby Henry played with his toes were three men: Gloucester, Bedford, and Beaufort. Think of them as the medieval equivalent of three uncles fighting over the TV remote while the kid drools on the rug. Gloucester wanted to be regent, the big cheese, but Bedford said, "No, you're just the protector," which sounds important but mostly means you get blamed when everything catches fire. Beaufort, the Bishop of Winchester and certified bastard, literally joined the slap fight. And at one point they nearly started a civil war over who gets to be in charge of the babysitting rota. Meanwhile in France things were going swimmingly, if by swimmingly you mean sinking rapidly. Joan of Arc, a teenage girl with visions, a sword and the gall to believe France should belong to the French, started humiliating the English army. She made them look like they were fighting with baguettes instead of swords. The English response: call her a witch, burn her alive, and then act surprised when the French were angry about it. Top diplomacy, 10 out of 10. Eventually, Henry VI was crowned, both in England and awkwardly in France. For a brief moment he was king of two countries. Sadly, he had the spine of a decorative jelly and the leadership skills of a lukewarm potato. Pope Pius II described him as more timorous than a woman, because, sexism was practically a sport back then. He never swore, and once had a bloody depiction of Christ's wounds served before dinner, which really whets the appetite, doesn't it? So we meet Margaret of Anjou, Henry's queen, arranged via a peace treaty that aged like milk. Margaret had a brain, ambition, and a favourite courtier named Suffolk. She ran the country like it was a chessboard. Henry, meanwhile, played checkers with invisible friends. Eventually they gave away Maine to the French. Yes, the ancestral homeland of Henry II, traded like a dodgy DVD in a car boot sale. It didn't go down well. By now, noble families were at each other's throats. The court was a reality show gone wrong, and Gloucester was arrested for treason and mysteriously died in bed. Probably from suspicious natural causes, if there is such a thing. The Duke of York, a man with a bloodline strong enough to make Henry nervous, was shipped off to Ireland. Why? Because the best way to handle a political rival is to send him to a land full of people who already hate your guts. In 1450, Kent exploded. Jack Cade, a man so angry he used someone else's surname, led a rebellion. His gang had some very valid complaints. France was lost, the sea was lost, and the king couldn't even afford a decent lunch. They executed corrupt officials, held mock trials, and at one point Cade literally set fire to London Bridge. They tried to bring justice. The king responded by fleeing the city. Eventually Cade was killed, but not before showing how badly things had spiralled. Then, in 1453, Henry's mind packed its bags and left. He fell into a stupor, couldn't speak, couldn't walk, didn't recognize his newborn son. Essentially, England was being run by a sentient paperweight. Who takes over? The Duke of York. Again. He becomes protector, sticks his rival in Somerset in the Tower, and sets the stage for what every noble loves: open war with their cousins. When Henry finally came to, he booted York, reinstated Somerset, and pretended nothing had happened, like the world's worst server reboot. This factional mess eventually exploded into the Wars of the Roses, where nobles chose flowers over logic and settled grievances with swords instead of strongly worded letters. So what did we learn today? That putting a baby in charge of a country is a bad idea. That kings who don't fight wars, manage finances, or know what day it is tend to lose things, like France. and the respect of their nobles. We learned that royal favoritism is a fantastic way to enrage everyone except the favorite, that calling your enemies witches won't stop them from winning, and that sometimes the king's most effective policy is falling unconscious. We also learned that history isn't just a list of dates. It's a chaotic sitcom with swords and fire. And most importantly, I learned how to sneak in an Easter egg. Comment below if you spotted it. Follow for more history with sarcasm and dread.